So hey, hello everyone. Today I really wanted to dive into something that honestly has fascinated me up to this point. It's how our language is just completely shape our social class. And trust me, this isn't about like whether someone has a fancy accent or uses a bit of a slang. You know what I mean? It goes so much deeper than that. It's about the actual structure of our speech and how that can impact everything from how we are perceived, pretty much, from other people. To some serious challenges in interpretation and translation, pretty much. That's when everything gets in between because people with her accent might as well try to tell you something. You might understand something different, and whenever you translate, it's going to be a whole different type of thing, and the message is not going to be clear. It's not going yeah, it's not going to get delivered at any point. So this whole idea of language changing because of social class is actually a huge part of social linguistics. The basic premise is that different social groups, you know, defined by things like income, education, the kind of job you have, um, they tend to develop their own really unique ways of speaking. Like, let's say a lawyer, they have their own type of language. They might as well call it um, law English. So it's such a whole different type of criterias, and I'm not going to call it criterias, but it's a whole different type of ways to say something, and managing to keep everyone to talking, having to defend somebody or having to go against somebody, and having a crowd behind makes a person to have a logical thinking onto what is going to be said. So I guess that's why most of those yeah, let's say words that they use um they're completely precise and unique, as I was telling you guys. Pretty much what I like to share is a super important study that kind of like kicked me off a lot. It was by Basil Bernstein, a British sociologist. He came up with this concept called elaborated code and restricted code. Well, no, elaborated versus restricted code. Well, no, elaborated code, think as it is more formal, more explicit, or generally more grammatically complex way of speaking. When someone uses this code, they are not really relying on to already know the context or assume things. Are gonna spell everything out pretty much. It's the kind of language that you totally hear like a university lecture or a really important presentation or formal presentation pretty much. Like I was saying before, picture a lawyer arguing in a court, super precise, really detailed, making sure there are absolutely no ambiguities. This code historically has often been linked to middle and upper classes, largely because they typically have more access to formal education. That's that's how it, that's how it goes. However, though, on the flip side, we have a restricted code. This is much more like an informal type of way of speaking. It's more often more implicit, and it really depends on the shared context between the people talking pretty much. It's usually more concise, uses simple grammar. It's totally the language we use with our best friends or family, where we don't need to explain everything. Yeah, every single thing pretty much, and everything detailed. Because well, we're on the same page with, between each other pretty much. We have to like make sure somebody understands what is going on. So let's try a quick example. Try to make this clear. Imagine two kids describing a game of hide and seek. A child using elaborated code might say something like, John and I were playing hide and seek in the park earlier. John ran behind that really big oak tree. So I looked for him there first. But a child using unrestricted code, he might just say, he was there. Now, if you were there, you get it. But if for someone who was not there, for somebody who were not paying attention or really didn't get the information like that, especially tell is missing, can I get the difference? Now I want to talk onto impact on interpretation and translation. Well, this distinction, these codes, they have huge implication for interpretation and translation. An interpreter or translator main job is to get meaning across accurately right. Now I want to talk over the impact on interpretation and translation and how it goes. Well, they have a huge implication for interpretation and translation. Pretty much, an interpreter and translator main job is to get the meaning across accurately. But what happens when the original text or speech is just saturated with a restricted code? Think about a translator working on a novel where a working class character dialogue is super colloquial and really context heavy. If the translator just literally translates the words, that entire implicit meaning in the social context, it could just be completely lost. The translator needs to understand not just the words but the whole shared cultural and social background that give those words their true meaning pretty much. You have to make a thought call. Do I find an equivalent colloquialism in this target language? Or do I actually add some explanatory context? Which, of course, can totally change the flow and the feel of the text. It's tricky. And for interpreter, oh man, it's even more challenging. I feel like it's going to be more challenging. Imagine a legal or medical setting. A patient or client from a different social class might be using a restricted code. The interpreter has to like instantly and accurately translate that into an elaborated code for the doctor or lawyer, pretty much. A simple phrase like, I'm feeling bad, could mean a million things, pretty much. From a vague discomfort to a really specific severe symptom, all depending on the speaker's background and what's implicitly understood between them or whoever they are talking to. The interpreter has to navigate all that ambiguity in real time, often without being able to stop and ask, what exactly do you mean by bad? It's a high pressure situation. Get me? So, on my personal take, for me personally, this topic is just endlessly fascinating. Yeah, it's really just fascinating for me. It's just the ambiguity of it. It just gives me a lot of ideas on how can I combine my language and make it work or make it be understandable, I guess. It really drives me home from how deeply language is connected to our identity, to our actual life experience. And it's so important to remember that it's not about the one code being better than the other one, pretty much. Not at all. They are just different tools designed for different social contexts and elaborated code and inherently more intelligent and restricted code. It's inherently less valuable. Yeah, they're just there pretty much. Um, but as a final thought, as far as me understanding this might just help us to truly appreciate the immense complexity of communication and the incredible skill that translators and interpreters bring to the table. It's not just about knowing two languages, it's about understanding those incredibly subtle social dynamics that are endowed with them. I'm sorry, within them. Yeah, within them, pretty much. So next time you listen to someone talk, or you're reading or a translated book, maybe just take a moment to think that social context. Think about how it might be shaping the very words you're hearing or reading. It's pretty much about it though. Have a rest of the day.